Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Two guys, three guys, whatever. How you doing?
Man, I'm a little slow this morning, but thanks for asking.
What are you drinking there?
Coffee.
Okay.
No, I was just we were just chatting with our guest, and I'm looking forward to you introducing him. But I was just laughing. I was saying, about your contract, right?
Yeah, so right.
Every year, Mikey has his contract that he does for Sober.Coffee and all.
This is so not true.
Go ahead. All his demands, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this year, every year, Mr. Prima Donna gets more and more high maintenance. This year, he says, "Hey, I want my strawberries cut in threes. I want my apples peeled."
Or I'm not doing it.
Right, well, I'm not doing it.
I mean, it's just that simple.
So high demand, high maintenance, but
you know what's so funny about
that? You are such the talent, and I'm so glad you're the funny one.
Oh, shut up!
It's amazing,
man. Shut up.
It's amazing.
No, you know what's so funny is that for years I think I was that guy in the green room. I mean, I lived my life like, come
Absolutely.
on, man, I'm catered to me. This is my life.
I'm Mikey R.
Yeah,
I almost said your last name.
Almost. We've done that before.
I know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, hey, we got a table for three today.
No, what's up, TJ? Welcome,
TJ,
man.
what's happening, man?
Not much. I absolutely love this already. I know we were talking a little bit off camera about when you get sober, you get really important, right?
I know, right? Right? It's like, come on, look at me. I want to walk down the street with I love these new gear because there's some cool gear. And Glenn's a big T-shirt guy. But, the Sober AF, I'm like, my mom, I was wearing something like that, and my mom's like, what's Air Force? I'm like, yeah, Mom, Air Force.
Alcohol free,
yeah, right. So, yeah, good to have you, TJ, man. Good to have you. So you're dialing in to the coffee shop from what part of the country this morning?
I'm out here in Sarasota, Florida.
Beautiful.
Oh, man, I thought you were in Nashville.
Well, he kind of is.
Because I was going to say, I'm in Nashville next week.
You know what's funny? He's shaking his head yes, like I am, but I'm not. But I am. Yeah. So
all of it.
That's my avatar.
What you both just said.
That's right. That's all true.
Moved to Nashville. We got sober 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I just made a post the other day on LinkedIn on how Nashville will always have my heart. Like, I got sober there. I got saved there. I met my wife there. I started my 3-quarter and sober living homes there. I started my company that I'm working on now. So every time I go back to Nashville, I absolutely love it. And if you're there, I'll be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week.
Oh, outstanding.
I land Tuesday. I'm going for a conference. I'm usually pretty busy, but there's a big sober dude I know, name's Todd, in Nashville, and I've known him, 5 years or so. Todd D.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Hey, stay with me. Don't stay in those crappy hotels." I'm like, "Well, I'm staying in a really nice hotel, but thank you."
Nice.
So, I love Nashville.
Let TJ know because he could stay by Todd.
That's right.
Yeah. So what's going on down there in Sarasota?
6 years of sobriety, man.
You know what?
Fantastic.
I want to, before I jump into what's going on down there, I love what you just said, and I love the energy in which you just said it because everything started for you 6 years ago. It's almost like
life starts.
Life, like a whole new reset button, and you get all these fabulous things that you just spewed out like. All started 6 years ago. It's crazy. Isn't it just crazy when you think about it? I mean, I muddled through life, and I had good things going on. I married a gal. I had kids, but I didn't have the same vigor for it because I was so doused by the poison of what I was doing. I didn't get to experience it the way I felt your experience come out in your energy when you just introduced those 5-6 things that began.
Of energy.
Yeah, it's all good stuff.
It's wild to really think about it. And every once in a while, I have some reflections that just come in through conversations with people. And then when you tell them something that is true, that you've known, but like when you voice it, you're like, that's wild. And one of the things we're talking about is when I moved to Nashville, I got not got rid of, basically they got rid of me because nobody wanted me around anymore. But I went through 99.9% of the people that I've known for 33 years completely cut off.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got to Nashville, I talked to maybe like 10 people. My mom, my sister, my grandma's, my sister's husband. Like I literally on two hands can count the people I reached out to that I knew from my past in like 3 years. Slowly but surely, I'm adding maybe one, right? I have social media. I have LinkedIn, but none of my people that I hung out with is on LinkedIn. So I can go there and nobody even knows what I'm doing, right?
Sure.
So, but yeah, in 6 years to get where God has taken me and where business has taken off and the relationships that I've made, you would think you would have had for lack of better words, like got behind the road, like got behind the schedule, like, right? Like you came in late. In 6 years, I've made more relationships with people that I couldn't even imagine in the 33 years prior.
Right.
It's just fascinating.
Can you pick out a person though? Because you said you lost 99.9. I lost 99.9 in my life too, of people that were out there. But that 0.1%, I mean, do you have that one guy who's like not like from the sober community, right? And he's not there, but he's a guy who has seen the transition in you, maybe he's still a drinker, but a responsible one, right? Just a normie, but he sees in you this magnificent example of a better way to live. Do you have that one guy in your life like that you've known forever that is like, wow, dude, I'm so proud of what you're doing, because they've seen the ugly Mike, the ugly TJ, the ugly Glenn, and they've seen this beautiful person that we've become sometimes?
Yeah, I have two.
Okay.
One of them is a childhood friend. The other one we met around 8th grade-ish. So
yeah, right, childhood.
Yeah, childhood. So yeah, both of them I tell them all the time, like, I've taken from you my entire life. I just want to give back. I just want to help. I just want to serve. I just want to do anything I can possibly do for both of them. They're investors in my company. We don't get a chat every day, right? There are times we go still 3-6 months before having a conversation, but it's those two, Brandon Lake, Joe DeHart. Like it's them. They're the only two from the past, besides like immediate family members, that I could point to.
Isn't that amazing? Glenn, how about you?
In fact, I got one guy, and I just talked to him. His name's Wood. I call him Wood. And he's a business guy I've known for 25 years. And he was, literally, I started from scratch, from zero. And I just talked to him, and he's an investor in my business. And, he's like, Glenn, I just cheer you on. I'm amazed at how this sober stuff works for you. Just amazed.
Yeah.
And so TJ, I loved how you put it. I have taken from you for so long. And that just really rings with me. In fact, I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that too. And that struck me because my guy is Tony. And he's, child first grade, right? And he's just seen the ugly in me, right? And one time I went to go help him move out of an apartment to another apartment. I was probably 18, 19 years old. I was so hungover. I laid on the grass. I remember it like it was yesterday. It had to be 110 degrees outside. And I'm only, I got at that point I had an 85-pound frame, right? Totally hungover, totally useless to him. But I love that. I kind of abused that relationship, but he kind of stuck with me. And now he's just a rock star. He just loves my
Go Tony.
Yeah, loves where I'm at in life. So that's good, because, and you know what, I try and be that support to other people now, which I never was. Before it was support Mike, support Mike, support Mike. Now I'm more like, what can I do to support you? So what can we do to support you down there, TJ, in Sarasota? What do you got? What kind of stuff you got happening?
Where's your three-quarter living house?
Yeah, where's your? Tell us about your Nashville operation.
Yep. So when I first got sober, a year into it, of course, everything can be done better, and I'm the one to do it, right?
Right.
Right. Totally.
So I started. We got our first halfway house. The year sobriety, basically moved in, got everything going from there, and got a couple homes, 3-4 homes started. And then there's a couple people from my church, which again, new relationships, did not know me, just knew me from maybe 6 months. And I'm still in early sobriety. And they're like, well, we're real estate people and we want to make money. Yes. But if we could make money and do good, like, let us know how we could help. And so they invested into what I started, Safe and Sound Sober Management. Ran that for a while. It's still operating. It's just passed off to someone else that's running it. I believe it's kind of down to 2 or 3 homes, maybe 2 homes now that's running out in Nashville. So it is one of the Nashville addresses. So the crazy story about this, it was 3 years ago, I get this, and I think early on in sobriety, when some sort of success, some sort of success comes, you think it's going to be your path forever. And God pivoted me out of this just when I use that word a lot still. I want to get rid of that. But just when I got the 3-quarter home established and we were going to launch a detox center, pivoted me into a company called Glovender, which we can have another conversation about. But it just sat there. And so the investor of the home is like, hey, what are you doing? You started this company and now you're like not really part of it anymore. You handed it off to someone else. Well, long story short, I go meet these family offices. I'm private equity backed, right? I have a tech company and now they're all coming back into this. And I mentioned to the investor the other day, hey, looks like we're going to finally get going, but I'm giving 10% of my net revenue from Glovender to my nonprofit, which is Safe and Sound Foundation, to be able to help in a way bigger scale than I was ever going to do it in Nashville when I thought 3 years ago. But the cool thing is when I text him, I said, hey, we're getting there. We're getting close. I want to let you know where we're at. And he goes, I just want to thank you for not giving up on your dream or giving up on your why, even though you did go out and do something else, because I kind of felt guilty about that, right? Like I got all this started and then I just left. Normally I think that was old behavior. I think that was like old thoughts, thinking that I was doing the same thing, but I wasn't. I was actually being obedient at this time. And with his words saying thank you, it actually made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really cool. So I have a venture in the normal world, right, where I deal with investors and, I pitch in, I do family offices and, and I'm telling you, it's a level of hard, right? But I'm also early stage startup in a really cool recovery project. And I'm telling you, those conversations are 10 times easier because, booze and substance and drugs and addictions crush people and crush families. And, it's so funny because I was actually in a conversation with this dude about, $6 million for my one venture. He goes, Glenn, I love it, but I just don't have the time. I don't have the bandwidth. And so he started mentioning some guys, and he mentioned this guy. I'm like, oh, he's from Bensonville? He goes, yeah, how do you know him? And I said, well, I'm on the sober path. And I said, he runs a sober living and blah, blah. So within 10 minutes, he said, well, what do you do for sobriety? I'm like, rolled down, I did podcasts. I'm with Sober Living here in Chicago. And I said, I'm working on this new sober project. And I tell him about it. And he goes, look, I just told you I have no bandwidth. He goes, I got
bandwidth for that.
I'll put $1 to $5 million in that project.
Right.
And I looked at him and I befuddled.
Well, there you go.
And I said to him, I'm like, what changed? He goes, look, man, my wife was an alcoholic, still is, ruined my entire life. I've spent over $1 million trying to get my son sober. He goes, I will spend anything to help you with that project. And it was just amazing how much people relate and how they're crushed. In fact, I have another investor with this project, and she keeps calling it a donation. And I said, stop! It's not a donation; it's an investment. She said, send me the donation forms. I'm like, will you stop? So funny. So I love hearing that path you're on. I love that you're giving back, and you have all the foundations. And so tell me about sober living. Tell me about what your strategy is.
Yeah, what makes you guys do? What are you doing different down there than's happening at so many different sober living homes?
And what's your average length of stay?
I'm going to get into the questions you asked. I'll kind of touch a little shortly on this, though, just because I do want to get into where we're going, what's been from it. So we have a 3-quarter home right now that.
What does that mean? Please define that. We have folks that have no idea what that means.
Got you.
Including me.
So normally, right? The process could start from going to detox and then going to a treatment center and maybe going to extended stay after treatment center and then getting into a halfway house. What sober living homes have different names. Halfway house could be the fact that you have around 10 people in a home and you're sharing bedrooms with someone, so you have accountability at night, which is probably one of the hardest times to try to get sober, especially if you're by yourself. So you have the accountability there. You have more of a streamlined process to where you have your 90 and 90, you have the counselor and the AA that you're meeting with, you have set dinners, it's kind of more structured in that. Well, around that 6 months, 9 months, a year mark, you can call it a 3/4 home. A 3/4 home would be less stringent, and it would be your own room. Right. So that it's more or less now you're on recovery on your own, but you have roommates, but you still have some stuff to do. We're still doing weekly chores. We're still having a meeting at the house. But other than that, it's just a next step to maybe on your own. And I don't want to get on a rabbit trail here, but whenever I see papers written on what the success of recovery from like a recovery center or these big organizations, why do they always end up with you in your own apartment with a truck that was paid? I was like, how is that the end goal? Is isolation?
Yeah, right.
Why does everybody else in the world get to have roommates and get to have fun and hang out? But sober living is, we did it good. If this guy came in and within 9 months, we got him a single apartment and he's on his own living. I'm like, how did
right. We've gone from isolation and graduated right to isolation.
Right.
Like you would think, no, I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, so we're running those homes. I would say the average stay in the 3/4 homes is over a year. Like people actually love this because we want it to be a roommate situation now. Right. We want it to be
community.
We don't want
community, right?
That's it, right? So we don't want you to stay for no reason. Like there are times where it's like, hey, we think that it's good to maybe get out of here and get a roommate or two, or kind of move on from this or go on that side of it. So we have accountability and we pay attention to all of that. But that 3/4 home is actually going to be transferred to a detox center. And this was part of the story that I was talking about prior, is I would have never met this organization if I didn't go off and do what I did. And that is called opiate.ai. If you guys have not heard of this organization yet, you have to. David Reeser out in North Carolina, his team is amazing. Chris Pardue, I can just keep going on. But if I might butcher it because, well, you guys aren't doctors either, I don't think. So you won't even know that I butchered it.
Not even close. Right. Roll with it.
So it's a tech wearable device that tracks your biometrics that will be able to give the doctor the accurate amount of dosage needed to the person in detox for withdrawal.
Dosage of what?
If you're talking about your like getting off of detox, so it could be your methadone, it could be whatever the drugs are to really help you with the withdrawal in the first 2, 3, 4, 5 days of either a clinic or a detox center. Right now, when we say accurate dosage, I think the world would hear as much as possible without harming them. But when I say it, and I don't know if you guys agree or not, we want the least amount of possible that actually helps you so you don't have to have a year taper. Okay. Right? Okay. If we just start you on the highest amount, like it's just a lot to recover. So we want to find that balance. But here's a really cool thing, and we'll kind of discuss it if you guys want. It also can tell the difference between these three things, which, as you know, in early recovery, the doctors kind of have to guess on this, but it can identify if it's anxiety, depression, or withdrawal.
The watch can?
The watch can.
Yeah, so I think my experience and just I've been in well over 80 detoxes, so I've got some experience in detoxes.
Yes, we listen.
And my strategy was to get the most.
Sure.
Because I wanted the greatest level of comfort and the least amount of struggle.
Pain,
right. But all of and they have enormous scoring systems, right, on how you're doing it in detox. Most of them, other than my blood pressure, I guess, right, or my pulse rate, most of them were subjective. So I knew how to answer because I was in detox for 8 days, right, just from booze, right, because I knew how to answer the question,
right,
so that I would get the most comfort. And they're like, oh, Glenn, we need to keep upping your Ativan instead of decreasing it.
Based on your answers.
Oh, it's nuts. So I love the biometric watch that turns the subjective or bullshit into objective, real numbers that you can give real treatment and put people on the path faster.
Yeah. By the way, Glenn's a data guy. I mean, the more data, the better. So.
Well, now that I run an honest program, I want data. When I wasn't honest, I mean, I just wanted to tell a story.
Right. So where is this thing readily available online now, or is it? I mean, is it market ready, or is it still in the development?
It's market ready. So they have clinics, detox centers already using this. I'm promoting it to a couple people that I know through the network. So I think there's phase 1, phase 2. Phase 1 is right now, they don't want to give data to the end user, us, until they know it's like very accurate, right? Like they need to make sure that if they're telling you, hey, you have anxiety or you have depression or something's going up or down, like we want to make sure we're not causing harm. So right now the data stays with the opioid team going over it and analyzing it, but it goes to the clinic. It can go to any and that side of things. Once they get all that approved and go fair, then it'll be more of what they're calling the street watch, which is going to just be somebody wearing it around. Now it's a Samsung watch. There's no like difference. There's no like you're not going to be able to know that you're wearing this and all that stuff. So yeah, it is very.
Is it an app that's on the watch, or is it a whole separate watch?
It's a Samsung watch. I know they're using technology to embed it into it, so it's not an app yet. That would be more the last play is the app that really comes in and they can track it just like an Apple Watch does with your biometrics of your heart rate and everything from there.
Here's what I think, because we're talking about a world that's somewhat different than ours. We came from alcohol primarily, but I was a recreational. I can't believe I use that word, but I was using drugs not as they were prescribed. I was getting street pills, and all I wanted was a little
drug addict.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. All I wanted was a little high.
Just want to clarify.
But in my era, my little high, I pretty much knew what I was getting. I mean, came out of somebody else. Here's the problem: kids are going out for a little high right now, a little relief, and they're getting dead because this is not your father's addiction. It's totally changed. The whole landscape has changed. I don't know what I'm getting on the street, and people turn to the street. I've seen it happen in my own circle, social circle, where people are getting prescribed something for anxiety. They're getting prescribed something for depression, and then the doctors cut them off, and then they go to the street to get the same effect. And again, it starts with a friend of a friend who's got a prescription bottle. Before you know it, your supply chain, you don't know where it's coming from. All they want is a little relief, and they're getting dead. And it breaks my heart.
I think over the stat that I read most recently is over 200 people are dying a day from fentanyl, fentanyl. Yeah. And that's 1 every 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's terrible.
That's rough.
That's crazy. Right? So it sounds like you have a lot of your life built around, focused on sobriety. Correct?
Yeah, sobriety, and for me personally, bridging the gap from AA to Jesus too, right? Like I want to be able to know why I feel like I'll be sustainable and never have to be worried about this again because I got saved from all of it. So that's what I preach. But yes, even in my company, we give 10% back to solve the opioid crisis. So everything I do is leading with my
all wrapped up. Yeah, it's funny. We struggle with that. I mean, we're AAers, right? And we felt AA, and Mikey and I, in fact, it goes back. Easter of 2015, we were in the same church, exact same church service together. Mm-hmm. We didn't know each other. Way before we knew each other. Right. I was 9 months sober, and he was drunk.
Plowed. Yeah.
The same. So we go to the same church, same spiritual path, right? And what we felt about AA is it talks about God, higher power, and blah, blah, but it doesn't really give you details. So we actually did a separate sister / cousin podcast called As We Understand Him, which really explains our path, our spiritual exploration, and kind of where we're at today.
We did a few episodes. We should probably go back to that once a quarter, throw a couple new episodes. Yeah, we should probably throw them out there. Yeah,
that was great. Yeah, because people are seeking.
Yes, and to your point, I would just wanted to mention my path. But in the halfway home and three-quarter homes, they wouldn't let me really speak of Jesus, right? This is AA, and I was connected to the treatment centers, right? We were part of, we were an extension of, and I just was getting sick of it. So I was like, I'm going to figure this out, and it wasn't very hard. You start a nonprofit, and then you pay their move-in fees. And when they come in there, you say, hey, I just want to let you know this nonprofit paid your move-in fees. And if you want to ever know a little bit more about it, and I just write on the front page, if you go to it, safeandsoundfoundationtn.com, it's just Jesus.
Right.
And I was like, and they were like, well, I guess now you can talk about it. Because I was like, oh, thank you.
Right. Because you did something. Well, you fed them. You helped them out. You kind of do something practical to help them out.
That's great. In fact, we were just talking earlier, TJ, there's two superpowers, with sobriety. One is sobriety, and the second one is the spirituality, the relationship with God and Jesus that kicks in along the way, right? But coming in AA, I mean, God, my whole life didn't work for me. It just didn't work, and it was the BS God that I grew up with, the judgmental. All the hypocrisy and all that. But then I was very fortunate in that same church, church that Mike and I go to, when I came out of hell, right, when I found sobriety and came out of hell, they were there with a loving God, with a God that wanted to have a relationship, the prodigal son God, right? The God that, Jesus that loved on the woman at the well, the whore at the well that had 5 or so husbands, and that's who I needed, and I still need today.
Right.
So that's a great story.
Yeah, it's a great story. Good stuff,
TJ.
So give me just your day job. Explain what you're doing real quick, because we're almost wrapping up here, and I wanted to give you a chance to do your little. Tell us what you got going on there. Technology. Tell me it's AI, because all I got to do is put AI after my name, and I'm a billionaire. So tell me you're doing something in AI.
We will be utilizing that, but
okay.
Yeah, we do have part of it. It's the end game to tie in everything that we're doing. So I would say, simply put, we are a supply chain as a service.
Okay.
Right. So we have been able to identify an ecosystem or a flywheel that, if it's used properly, can help people order anything around the world, get it on time, get what they wanted, be able to sell it, and everything's taken care of like an extension to your company at a fraction of a cost. So to be able to explain how and why we do that, one of my co-founders is the 4th generation legacy ownership of manufacturers over in Asia. We're talking hundreds of years of owning manufacturers in the fashion space, in the sporting goods space, in the medical instruments and packaging. We started there 2.5 years ago and just blew this up to where if a client comes in, we attach them to an industry niche expert. That industry niche expert works on the project with accountability and project management from Glowvendor, and then we tap into the manufacturer to get everything done in one platform. A lot of people using Upwork, Fiverr right now, just a marketplace of freelancers, nothing vetted. So we vet them, and then we vet the manufacturers. Alibaba doesn't really vet. They just allow you to have a marketplace. So we brought it in. We had an idea. We didn't know if it would work or not. Turns out it very much does work. And we are absolutely loving it. So we really cater to the 0 to 1s that just want to start a company. And we can do that for only $499 a month. Have a full team come on board and go all the way from inception to idea to launch to Performance Plus, which means we want to get you into the big box retailers. And a good friend of ours, Mike, I think you know how we get into the big box retailers is I just call him and say, hey, we got a good product.
Get in. Right.
Worries.
So let me bring it back to sobriety. Could you have done this 7 years ago in your mental state, in your addiction? I mean, seriously, answer the question. Could you have done this 7 years ago?
There's zero chance I could have a global team that is way better than anything, smarter than anything that I could ever do, and manage that, or just wake up in the. I wouldn't be able to do this, guys.
Yeah.
I would have missed an 8 a.m. call with you just because there was a responsibility. I wouldn't have gone out 3 days prior.
Right.
I would have somehow waited until this night, the night before this, and then gone out and missed it. Like, it was just straight self-sabotage. So no, I was a binge user. I was not every day, but there's no way I could sustain anything in sobriety or anything back then like I'm doing now. So 100% no.
And then incredible. How about you, Glenn?
You know, I do stuff today that just, I mean, I didn't really start drinking until I was 35, right? So I've done amazing things before that. That is nothing compared to what I'm doing today. And sobriety is a superpower. That's all I got to say. And I'm doing stuff today that, you know, it just blows me away.
You know, the whole thing.
I mean, there are times, and TJ, I don't know if you can relate to this. There are times that I'll sit there, like last night was one of my zoned out with some music, and I was just like, I am just blown away at the life I have today. Just blown away. Mm-hmm. I never, and in AA, people are like, oh, I'm grateful I'm an alcoholic. I'm like, boy, that's a head trip.
Yeah, right.
But I'm starting to understand what they mean because I never would be here without going through there.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't. I don't know if you can relate to that, TJ, or not, but,
Our testimonies are so powerful. And in the world that let's put it this way. I'm married to a worship leader.
Yeah, how did that happen? Right.
That's awesome.
That does not happen in our old life. And if it does, we just destroy that person's life. Right. Because they might be worship leading, but they might have some dependency on trying to help and save somebody. And we can't be saved at that time. But yeah, when I got sober, I got saved. I met her, a worship leader. Now I'm part of a core team of a ministry. Like those things don't happen.
I like to say, pinch me. I can't believe it's going on.
Yeah, one last thing. Yeah. I don't know if we were over time, but you were mentioning, Glenn, like just the ecosystem and private equity backed and all that and working through startups, right? Startups are hard. Startups are very hard because there's but I truly believe my path of living a drug addict, alcoholic, gambling addict for 15 years has primed me to be able to exist in this, I think, better and easier than anyone around. Because when they're like, how are you doing a startup? Like so many things changes. You had a 3-day runway and you didn't care. I'm like, try to do what I did before that.
Yeah, right.
Poker is cute.
Try to get, well, what's funny is I told, back when I was drinking, I couldn't get somebody to buy me a half a pint of booze. And I recently had a guy sit at my desk and said, Glenn, I really don't understand what you're doing here, but I love you. Here's $750,000.
Right.
And I'm getting chills. I mean, the only way that works is that, and then I'll tell you quickly because I think I had one of my investors I've known for 2 years call me up and she says, hey, have you ever heard of the 12 steps? And I said, you mean the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous? She goes, yeah. I said, yeah, I've heard of them. Why? She goes, I just think you live them. I mean, that's like the best compliment I have. I mean, somebody that's watching me from a distance.
Not in an hour, not in 60 minutes,
for 2 years,
the other 23.
People, and I'm like, that just blows me away.
Right,
I'm telling you, it's a superpower, and I wish there was some sort of AI chip you could put in people and give them the superpower. But unfortunately, it's got to be learned and earned over a long period of time for me because I'm on the slow train. I'm a slow learner. But, man, does it work.
TJ, I wish we had more time for you. Will you come back?
Yeah, come back, man.
Guys, anytime. This is a pleasure. Honestly, anytime you guys want me back here, you guys are amazing. I could sit and just listen to you go back and forth and banter. So I would love to do less talking next time if I come on here.
No, it's good stuff.
No, man, that's not fun.
I'm in.
And we're gonna put a link. Man. We're gonna put a link up to the to your projects on the awesome. Resource room. Thanks, TJ. Have a great day, man.
See you, brother.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.